Betting preview for week 1 of the NFL football season. My name is MGCovers. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. Couple announcements here before we go through this preview. I've started a Substack group. That's how we're going to teach modeling. Very inexpensive to join. It's going to end up being $29 a month. There's going to be a link in the description. Right now it is free. So if you click on that link, you'll be able to see content. We'll make about 3 posts a week. That's primarily going to be related to modeling. So if you want to learn modeling, you can jump in, and it's absolutely free right now. All right, so let's dive into this model. A little text message during the video. What this is what we call classes model. This is something I've done with soccer, something I've done with NCAA football, and it's a way you can create a model at the beginning of the year without using any stats per se. And NFL's always been a relatively good sport for me. You take a look at last year, ended up 25-20, 6.6 units there with a 16% ROI. We did use a model with that. We didn't start wagering until about the 3rd week of the season. So this particular classes model is brand new, and I've applied a bunch of stuff that I've learned with soccer as well as NCAA football to rank these teams. So first off, let's look over here on the left-hand side. In classes model, we have an A, B, C, D, and I've added an E class this year because I want to create bigger separation between the A classes. And this is very similar to what I did with NCAA football, and it's already been very successful. There's a post on Substack related to this if you want to check that out. So for A class, we're going to rank those 1 through 6, meaning like based on my rankings, the top 6 teams are A class teams. Then 7 through 13 is going to be B class. 14 through 21 will be C class. And then we have 22 through 27 are going to be your D class teams. And then 28 through 32 are going to be E class teams. Now, how do you rank your teams? A lot of different ways to do it. That's something I'm going to talk about in the Substack group as well, because that is probably the most important part of a classes model. How are you going to rank the teams? Obviously, there's going to have to be some subjectivity factored into that because we don't have any quote stats for the 2025 season. So that being said, that's how we rank them. We're going to look at lines for this week and also the lines for my model. So what you can see here with this particular graph, we have the away team listed first, then we have the class, and then we have the home team, and then we have the home class, and then when it says model line home, that's actually my line from this model. And what you'll see is I'm super excited, done a ton of research with ChatGPT, figuring out the best way to create a line for the classes model, and this is pretty darn accurate. I actually created this first before I checked the lines, and it looks really, really good. When you're creating lines for a sport, you do want your lines to look very similar to the sportsbook lines, and if the majority of the lines that you create are similar to the sportsbook lines, that tells you that the model, that's what a model should look like. And then what you're wanting to recognize is those games where there's a slight discrepancy. And that's what you'll see in this model here moving forward. So when you see model home line -11, that means the home team is -11 and that the away team is +11. So we'll start up here at the top. This is going to kick off tomorrow night. We have Dallas and Philadelphia. You can see my line is Philadelphia -11. Very encouraging. This line opened up at Philadelphia -7. Now it's moved to -8. Majority of books, you can see their bet online has it at -9. The other thing you need to establish when you're creating a model is what's going to be your trigger point. Is it going to be 2 points of value? Is it going to be 3 points of value? NFL is a little bit different. I would say in this particular example, there is no value for the simple reason, maybe if you would have played this at -7 and then my line is -4, that gives you a 4-point diff, which is a significant amount of value. However, what you're seeing with line movement now, that as opposed to when I first started a business, over 10 years ago, is that people sort of understand how line movement works. You'll see sharp movement initially move the line, and you'll see the public pile on and drive that line to the point where there's no value, and the value might actually be on the opposite side. And I'll show you an example of that. So Also, too, with NFL, you got to understand the most popular margin of victory in NFL is the 3 and the 7. So once a line becomes 7.5, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5 are almost the same exact line. Because if a line is minus 7.5 or a line's minus 8.5, that team has to win by a touchdown and a field goal to cover either one of those lines. So once a line moves to 7.5, it's basically up to 9.5 is the same line. So looking at this, I feel like there's not sufficient enough value there to justify a play for Philadelphia. Maybe at the 7, but definitely not now. Move on to the next game. We have an A-class team, Kansas City, playing the Chargers, a B-class team. You can see there my line is Chargers +4. The books have this correct at +3. You can see it opened up at -2.5, a small bump in favor of Kansas City. So you look, my line is -4, books line -3. You would say, well, there's no value there. True, but one other thing that I'm testing, I've learned with Classes model, if you remember back to NCAA tournament time, we made it real simple. We just played for the A teams, meaning irregardless of the line up to a certain amount. So what I'm going to track here with this model the first 3 weeks of the season is to look at what would happen if we just played A teams up to, say, -7, irregardless of the line. So in that particular case, there would be a little bit of value there on KC, just based on a criterion-based model, meaning we play the A teams up to -7. All right, let's look at the next one, Tampa and Atlanta. We have Tampa as a C, Atlanta as a D. Again, this is priced pretty fairly there. We have Tampa -3, books line -2.5, a little bit of movement down depending on the book, but that stayed steady there at, no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Take that back. Tampa -2, stayed at -2. We have it at -3, so very little value there. Let's move on to the next one, Pittsburgh and the Jets. Pittsburgh is a C team via my model. We have Jets as an E team. Books have this priced correctly. We have it at Pittsburgh -5. Books have it at -3, so just a small amount of value. I would say actually the trigger point for me, we would want at least 3 points of differential to justify a play, so no play there. And then the next one, we have Miami as a C team playing Indianapolis at home. Indianapolis we have as an E team. Now we finally get a little bit of value here. Miami opened at +1.5. It's moved down to a pick. Some other books have it at, looks like Bovada has it -1, not a sharp book. So you look at my line at -5, Miami. So now we have some value. Now, what you will have to do, I would say, out of all the sports, major sports, NHL, NBA, college football, NFL, I would say NFL probably has the sharpest line movement. And when I say sharpest line movement, if you're using or analyzing the movement of a sharp book, aka Circus Sports, Bookmaker, as well as Pinnacle. I think those are the big three as far as sharp movement. What I mean by sharp movement, if a line here opens at, say, +1.5 and it moves to a pick, that means the line is moving in the direction of Miami. So that's not to say you're going to follow the line movement all the time. A lot of that would depend on your confidence in the model itself versus the books line. In this particular case, we do have significant amount of value on Miami. So not saying I'm going to play Miami. I probably will have plays this first week, but definitely a strong lean, and we have value on Miami. Carolina, Jacksonville, a D team going against a C team. We have, this is priced right on the number, Jacksonville -3, my line -3.5, books line. So you can see that's what you want to see. You want to see the plays where there's no, you want to see the majority of your lines look similar to the books line. Giants and Washington. Giants a D team. We have Washington as an A team. This opened at 7. It's moved down to 6 at most of the books. So here, again, we would be going against the market per se, but we have a significant amount of value. We now have a 5-point differential, which for NFL is significant. So that would be a strong lean on Washington there. So 2 strong leans already, Miami and Washington, both going against the market. So something to think about as well. Arizona, New Orleans, C team going against an E team. Arizona, my line would be -5. What's significant to note about this, you have this line open at -4.5, and now it's moved all the way to 6.5. Going back to the point I made earlier, you will see a lot of times this line, say it opens at 4.5, sharps hit it at 4.5, it bumps, the public piles on, they drive the line all the way to a 6.5, to the point to where, just based on my model, playing the favorite, you would have negative value, negative EV. My line -5, book's line -6.5. So the actual value via the model, even though it's a smaller amount, would be with New Orleans at +6.5. My line +5, book 6.5. So you're getting 1.5 of value. So technically a pass there, because generally the way that I model, especially with NFL, if a team is an underdog via my line and they're underdog at the books, majority of the time, based on what I've researched and found with my models, that team will end up losing. So with NFL, you only want to play a team if you believe that team's going to win. You can go back and track this. Next stat I'm getting ready to say, teams that win cover 80% of the time in NFL. Teams that cover win outright 80% of the time. That means for the most part, you should play dogs on the money line in NFL unless you're getting a +7.5 number. Advantageous to play them on the money line. All right, let's look at Cincinnati and Cleveland. Cincinnati B team playing Cleveland, an E team. My line is Cincinnati -8. You can look at the books there. Books line is -5. So all these ones that have value, and this is what makes sports handicapping difficult. We have value, but we're going against the market here. Line open at -6. Now it's down to a 5. So we have that differential of 3, which would indicate, quote, value. So again, 3 plays with value so far, line moving against us on all 3. And again, it's still, I'm recording this video on a Wednesday, so we still have time to where those lines could move in the direction of my line as well. All right, moving along, let's take a look at Vegas and New England, 2 D teams. So we label that as a pick. I think that's a pretty good line there. Vegas at +3. It's moved down in the direction of my line here. New England from -3 to -2.5. So I like to have at least 3 points of value, but that would favor Vegas technically. Again, no advantage of playing or taking the points at 2.5. If you're going to play Vegas, it'd be better to play Vegas on the money line. San Francisco and Seattle, we have San Fran as a B team playing Seattle a C team. 2-class separation there. Line is priced correctly, -2 to -2.5. We have it at -3. Tennessee, Denver. We have Tennessee as a E team playing a much improved Denver team as a B team. We have Denver -8. You can see there that line opened at 7.5. It's moved all the way up to 9. Some books have it at 8.5. Some books have it at 8. So the line moved in our favor. Detroit and Green Bay, A team against a B team. We do have some value here. Detroit an A team, Green Bay a B team, but the line has moved in favor of Green Bay. Another one of those situations where the model's disagreeing with the market here. Detroit -4 my line, so we're getting roughly, 4.5 points of value. So definitely a lean on Detroit, albeit against the market once again. Houston B team playing the Rams, another B team. That's a pick. Again, priced. Well, I say priced correctly. We have value there with Houston. That line hasn't moved much. Again, a situation where if you're going to play Houston, advantageous to play them on the money line. Next one, Baltimore and Buffalo. 2 A teams. That's basically a pick. Books have this one priced correctly. It actually corrected towards my line. It opened at a +2 for Buffalo. Now it's moved to basically a pick to -1. No value there. And then finally, the Monday night game, Minnesota and Chicago. Same situation there. Both of these are C teams. So we have Minnesota at +1.5. It's moved in favor of Minnesota, so no significant value there. So to review this, we have leans on Miami against the market, Washington against the market, Cincinnati going against the market, and what was the other one there? Detroit and Houston. So I would say I learned this from reading Billy Walter's book. There's a lot of variance in NFL, and what we mean by variance, the margins are very tight. The most popular margin of victory is a 3. After that, it's a 7, and then I think it's a 4. So when a team wins, they win by generally 1 possession, field goal or a touchdown. So it would be advantageous to play volume. So if you're going to do it via this model, it'd be best to play all of those plays as opposed to just trying to pick maybe the best one out of those. It'd be better to play all those plays I just mentioned as opposed to cherry picking just one. So that's a wrap. Good luck week 1. I will mention the NCAA model is up, profitable in NCAA football to start the year. If you want access to that model, in addition to this model you see in here every single week, very inexpensive to join our service, $50 a month. You get access to all of our coaching videos on the site, over right at 200 coaching videos now. Teach you about handicapping, how to improve your handicapping. Get access to all that for $50. If you want access to that, in addition to all my personal plays, $100 a month. The best value is to join for a year. Instead of paying $100, you can pay $500 one time, save about $600 off the paying each month. Gives you the best bang for your buck. Get access to everything on the site for $500. Link to join in the description. Greatly appreciate you guys watching this video. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.